Hey YouTube, it's me, Jen, your Pudgy Picker.
And Kim.
And we are here again for another podcast. Two sisters.
One Bootharoony.
Bootharoony. And this is podcast number 36.
36.
Yep, 36. So today we're going to talk about how can I support the mall, I'm starting already, and other vendors. Now, you know I always start with questions. So, what kind of mall are you in? Are you in a co-op style mall like we are, where part of our rental agreement is not only money for rent, but also working days? So that gives us an opportunity to physically be here and, be able to see our customers, help other vendors, work with them as they're working their days. So it's a little bit different if you just have a mall where you go in and you maintain your space and you don't work any days. Or I've had a few people say, you bring in your stuff, hand it off to someone, and you go.
Yep.
So it depends on the amount of involvement you have by physically being at your mall.
Yep.
So that's one question. Do you know the mall owners? I almost said moaners.
Some of them probably are.
Yeah, okay.
We do know that.
And do you know other vendors? Again, this comes down to the question of, how much involvement, how much are you at the store? How much are you there? I think we have a really good relationship with our mall owners. We were just telling her today, we're like, you should really be listening to our podcast because we talk about you very highly.
I told her, I said, your head would be so big you won't be able to get it through the doorway, though.
And other vendors. There are vendors that we get along pretty much with everybody.
Yeah.
There's a few
Or like to think so.
Yeah, there's a few interesting, you get a group of over 100 vendors together, and there's going to be some interesting folks and interesting personalities going on. And then some people you're just more drawn to than others.
Oh, yeah, I could think of a couple right offhand that I just love to see when I
Like
come in.
me.
Well, that's not what I was thinking, but...
Yeah, in fact, even the days that you work, do you notice when you come in and you see who's working, you're either like, yay, or, oh, this is going to be a long day.
Yeah, yep, been there.
You get that many people together with different personalities, and it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
What else was I going to ask you? So, knowing what kind of setup you have, that's a big indicator. If you have a talent that the mall owner, you could lend to them in some way. We have a couple people that are interior decorators who stage an area. They stage an area in the front of the mall. And also we have metal shelves where we put customers' items till they check out. We have like a claim ticket arrangement. And on top of that is also an area where they pull from the different booths and set up a display. So it looks very eye-catching because those are the first things you see when you come in.
Yep.
So if we have some kind of talent or there is some role for us to fill, is that something that you would be interested in doing? Now, the people don't get paid for that. But it's always nice to pitch in because that does come back to you. And also, we have at our mall an ad team. Ad money is collected from each vendor, and then that money is used toward advertising for the mall. I happen to be on the ad team. There's probably about 8 to 10 of us. And I'm the treasurer.
Money, 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 money.
Money, money. So that's a way that I can help. And it's also a way for me to get involved, that I see more of the inner workings of our mall than I would if I weren't doing that. So I kind of like that because I'm kind of nosy. And I like...
Kind of?
Well, the thing is, if you're not on the ad team in our mall, any vendor can sit in on the ad meetings because it's technically their money. So if they want to sit or they have ideas or whatever, they're more than welcome, to sit in. So that is something that I personally help out in. And I like to know what's going on and how much things cost And I mean, I have no idea. I never was on an ad committee. If you were to say, well, how much would it cost for this size ad in a newspaper? I'd say, I have no idea. And it's interesting to learn those things. And, as I get older, there's things I like to learn that, that rounds out my personality, that I can learn more things. And that's a way of helping the mall. Also, just recently we had a vendor who was moving from a double space to a single space. And she can be a little bit scatterbrained.
Yeah.
And she gets overwhelmed easily.
Yeah, she does.
So, it's like having a 6-bedroom house and then you have to move into a 2-bedroom apartment. It's like, it's so much easier to move to a bigger space than it is the other way around.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. So it was actually a day I was working, and I said, tell you what, I'll go over with you, and we'll measure your fixtures, and we'll actually just make a plan on the paper. Because we're always talking about doing that. So we literally mapped it out. And every display, she would write a Post-it note, write a number, and it would go on our little chart. And a couple days after that, she said to me, everything fit exactly the way we thought it would. And I said, that's what happens when you plan things out. Yeah. So she moved all the fixtures and then started moving all of her stuff, and it fit. So, and it was funny because I told the owner that day, I'm like, I know I'm working and I spent 20 minutes over there, and she said, no, you're helping us all by helping her. So it's good. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So that's a way that you can help. We've also helped if a vendor was ill or had been, gone for a while.
Yeah, one we had a sudden death. Her husband suddenly died.
Yeah. So we went over and just kind of fluffed up and straightened up.
Yeah.
So, it's like, well, why should I do those extra things if I'm not getting paid and I'm really busy? We're busy too.
Well, and you get paid in the long run because you're helping, like in that case, for instance, she wasn't in for probably 2 months. And you're thus helping to keep her booth straight so that the store looks nice and it's still influencing people that are still coming in and buying from you. If you let that go down, it's a bad reflection on all of us.
Yeah, and there was another vendor that we just went over, and she's like, my sales are like nothing, and I need some help. And of course, Kim and I, we'll go over and spend a half an hour, and 2.5 hours later.
Well, mind you, just so you make sure you understand, she came to us. We didn't go over there and go, you really need some help.
We're going to help you because you need it. No, she asked us to help, and we did, and she said her sales started picking up.
Yep.
So just going around and moving stuff, and we aren't like, I mean, I have a channel. We have a podcast, but we don't go around going, well, in my opinion, you should blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, go away. I don't want to hear it. So, I mean, we don't push ourselves on people.
No.
But if someone asks for help, we'll help
We'll gladly accept that offer.
So if you have, and like Kim said, it helps the booth. It helps the mall. It helps, if I help you, it helps me too.
Yep.
So that's the kind of attitude you have to have. Also, if we're there and a customer needs assistance, you're supposed to be willing to go over and to help them, because you don't be like, I'm not working today and that's not my area,
but
and blah, blah, blah,
Unfortunately, we hear a lot of that. And I mean, the meetings they have in the morning when you're working to catch you up on the this and that. So it's one of the things that always comes up is if you're in the store, you should be willing to help because you just don't tell a customer, I'm sorry, I'm not working today. Well, you are working. You are in your booth. You're going to be working.
Yeah, and you represent the store.
Yeah.
And all it takes is one really crappy experience for somebody to say, well, I ain't going back there again.
Yeah.
So even if you aren't, in a co-op situation or you work days or whatever, that still doesn't mean that you can't contribute in some way to make people's shopping experience pleasant and where they'll want to come back. When I work, Kim works register. So when she works, that's what she's doing. Usually when I work my days, I'm working the customer service desk. And that includes, of course, people just walking up and asking questions, answering the phone. We have all the locked all the locked case keys numbered. So if a vendor comes up and says, I need key so-and-so, they can sign that out and I get the key out and then I put it back. And plus we also keep the stickers. So I'll go out and get the stickers from the items that have been sold, and then there's a book that you tape them into. So that's something else I can do while I'm there. And if I have nothing better to do, I will ask the owner, is there anything you need me to do? And usually can you put stickers on this? Can you sort through that? Could you look at this? So, I mean, making yourself available if you do work there, because I don't like to just sit. I have to have something to do. I will literally sort push pins in the drawer if I have to, because I need to keep busy. I wipe the counters down. I mean, I find something to do.
Well, and even when you were walking more than working the register, one of the things you always did too is we get these big, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like newspaper print that's not printed on in big sheets. And we use that to wrap things, but they're in huge sheets. So we do cut them down in half and in fourths. And stock all the registers with those for wrapping items. And one day, because when I come in for the register and we're not real busy in the morning, I'm the same way. I got to find something to do. So I look around, I straighten up under the counters, because to me, when you come up and it's a U-shaped counter, a register on each side. And if I'm standing there and I'm looking at a bunch of wow! Woo! And I don't swear. How'd that happen?
Had to use our first beep.
Wow! I went to say stuff, and
oh, that's so funny. If you don't know Kim, she could be laying at the bottom of a canyon with her leg broke off next to her, and she'd say, "Oh, poop." She would not swear.
Oh, that was funny.
Wow, that's...
Anyway, I'm getting older and my filter doesn't work as well on my mouth anymore.
Evidently.
Anyway, that's the old Kim coming out. So where was I? Oh, yeah. So stuff that's been crammed up and shoved underneath and people's garbage and whatever. So I'd always try to straighten that up. I look to see if we need paper and I cut those sheets up. And of course, since you used to do that all the time, someone said to me, "Oh, I thought you were your sister there for a minute," because that's what she always does.
Because if I'm wrapping, if I'm, I'm there, then there's an extra counter there, and you can lay it up there, and they have a big, like a metal, place you can just set it on there and then cut it. So yeah, I do that. I got to keep busy. I can't.
But see, me being a cashier, it's kind of hard because if you're not busy, I can't walk away from the cash register.
Because that's happened, where it's not busy. Oh, come look at my booth. And then somebody comes up and they're standing there looking around like, I want to buy stuff. So, yeah, and there's some register people who are not so good with staying. You just want to just tie their ankles to the counter, because you'll look around, where's so-and-so?
Yeah, put a rope around their waist.
They walked off. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Or I'm just going to go over here for a second. I'll be, and 2 hours later, as SpongeBob would say. It's like, where did they never came back?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's stuff that you could do if you are working there, because, like you said, it's almost a selfish reason. It makes the time go quicker if you could just find something to do, keep busy. It makes the day go quicker. Plus, other things get done, and it's nice to know the owners that they can rely on you to do. We have a lot of things that are forms, different things that are printed out. So if I'm at the customer service, I look, oh, there's only 1 or 2 papers left. I go make some copies, So, I mean, I am keeping busy because I loathe just sitting there and being bored.
Well, and I think there are some vendors who come in and one of the things you have to do when you're working is you have to choose a chore for the end of the day to do. It could be emptying trash cans. It could be cleaning the bathroom. It could be mopping a floor. It could be vacuuming, wiping windows. There's all kinds of things on this list to do. And some people are just absolutely known to either skip out before doing the job or just a quick lick and a promise and out the door they go. So, if you are signed up to do that, I mean, that's how we keep the place running without having to pay somebody to be there.
Yep.
And
that keeps our rent lower.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we're not tooting our own horns here, but things like if I've gone back to the restroom and I realize the paper towels are out, or the toilet paper's low, or I'll just take a minute because the door's right outside the bathroom door.
Yeah.
And go in there and get the little
storage room.
Yeah, get that little funky shaped key or whatever, and go in and put a new paper towel in because it needed to be done. It makes the customer's experience better not to be standing there without being able to wipe their hands or don't have soap or something.
Yep.
And yet I'm still helping out the mall.
Well, and two, there are certain vendors that are known for being helpful and useful, and then there's other ones that aren't so much.
I love how you're being so politically correct
trying.
Today.
So the point is, if you are sick one day for work and you never call in sick and you call in, they understand because they know you're a hard worker and they know that you're always there on time and they know that you're trying to do other things to make it pleasant for everyone else. And when you extend yourself in that way, if you need, if something comes up or you can't come in or you need to switch a day or whatever, they're more understanding because they know that you're a good hard worker. Until somebody, well, I don't think I can come in tomorrow. It's like, well, this is the third time you've called off. And working days, that's not a volunteer thing. It is mandatory. It is part of our renter's agreement. It's just like saying, well, I decided not to pay you my whole rent this month. It don't work that way.
And for safety, for security of the store items, and all of that, it's all reliant on have enough people there to do the job that you need to have done. So if you're a cashier short or two cashiers short, and like that job alone, there's not a lot of people that like to cashier, so that's a harder job to refill.
Yeah. Because there's a limited amount of people. Oh, well, we've got to call these people to see if they can come in.
I've come in before where they're like, we have one walker. That's it for that whole store, one walker. So they're on the phone scavenging because whoever was there didn't show up. They're not answering their phone. They're whatever.
Yeah, or, I didn't realize it was today.
Yeah.
I mean, once in a while stuff like that happens, but, if some people, that's their method of operation. It's always that way. They're always running late. They're always never on time, on schedule, on task, and it's, you don't want to be known as that kind of person, to have the good ethics of, being a person of your word, pretty much is what it is.
Yeah.
And as we talked about, helping in the mall helps us as individuals. When people come in and they say, man, I go in that store and everybody's real helpful and they're so nice and, just kind of joking around and, it gives a good vibe to the store.
Yeah.
And all it takes is somebody to be sour, to say, I don't do that, or I can't help you. Oh my goodness. Unfortunately, people tend to remember that kind of stuff more than they remember people being helpful.
And I'm trying to think, I'm not sure if you got anything coming up that this would fit into, but one of the things that I thought of was, again, at these store meetings and stuff, I worked last Saturday, and I'm going to work again this Saturday, but one of the things that came up at the meeting again is, that story. We're all here to help each other, and when you're here, you need to help sell other people's items, because when you're not here, you want other people to help sell your items.
Yep.
Because, again, they caught someone who went to ask the customer if they wanted some help, and they said, oh, I was looking at this item, and this was, I was thinking about this, and the person said,
no, I know where you're going.
I have another one just like that in my booth, and it's cheaper.
Oh, that
is such a no-no.
Oh.
They said if someone comes in and stops and says, I'm looking for...
Yeah.
You can say, oh, I know where a couple of those are. In fact, I have one in my booth. That's okay. But when someone is shopping someone else's stuff, you don't stand there and say, I'll give you a better price, or I have one that's... No. Bad. That's not helping anyone.
And when you hear stuff like that, either they'll send out an email and say, this is a problem, make sure you don't do this, or you do this. A lot of times I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Surprising. There's been an issue with people, if somebody wants to buy something, either another vendor from you or something, of just making a deal and not going through the register.
Oh, yeah,
And
that was
that's-
recent.
Yes, and
Or
that's
for family
that's
members
stealing.
or whatever. You know, they come in and
yeah.
it's like, oh, hi, and they go to your booth and they're like, oh, this is... I tell you what, just go ahead and take it or I'll give it to you for $5 or, yeah. No.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, the reason, that's like, it's kind of like eBay. You know, you see something on eBay and somebody goes, oh, I'll give you this if you want to just sell it outside of eBay. No, you don't do that.
Yeah,
You're
get
on
thrown
there.
off of
You
eBay
have to,
for that.
yeah, you're following the rules. You're, you know, that's,
Well, like they said here, you know, you are bringing that item in for sale. You have it in your booth, so it's taking up space. And you know, granted, you're renting that space, but you're paying too to have that item there, stored, obviously displayed. So you're taking away from their income too. So you're cheating the system, and that's stealing. Just like when you're there supposed to be working and you're hanging out in the bathroom, or
you're messing in your own booth.
You know, yes,
Yeah.
spending time cleaning your own booth, or you know, not doing your job. That is actually stealing from your employer, because you're supposed to be there for a certain amount of time for them.
Well, it's like any other job. If you're there, you're working for the business. You're not there for yourself. You are on their clock and on their time, and you need to be doing their stuff.
Yep.
But just when I hear stuff like that, I just shake my head, because you really have to tell somebody that?
I
Evidently
know.
you do.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Because we're so perfect, we would never do that.
Well, it's just one of those things. Do you want to be known as a problem, or do you want to be known as a solution? And there's, I bet you, you know, if we talked to the owners of the mall and said, can you think in your mind, you don't even have to say it out loud, of 5 people that you just want to wring their neck by the time the end of the day comes, and they'll say, oh yeah, or they're 5 people that are really helpful and always willing to chip in. Oh yeah, you know those too.
Yeah.
So,
well, we've come in on other events or something, or I come in for a couple hours for something, and then I tell, you know, I'll say, well, I'm here for, you know, what, to help you out or whatever. What do you want me to do? And they're like, well, do you want to? And it's like, it doesn't matter if I want to. Tell me where you need me. Wherever that spot is, that's what I'm going to do, because that's where you need me.
That's a problem too if you come in and you have signed up for a certain job and you get there and you think you're going to do a certain job and they say, well, you know, we're going to have to move you. You're going to have to do something different. There are some people that really get bent out of shape about that.
I'm not going to do that. That's not what I signed up for.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, because I know when I'll come in, they'll say, oh, do you mind if you switch with so-and-so just for part of the day or whatever? I'm like, whatever, you tell me what to do. I mean, I'm here to, you know, make things go smoothly, and that's, you know, I'm fine with that. Or, you know, when it comes to relieving people for, you know, for break or whatever, or they'll say, you know, there's certain people, man, I tell you, when that clock strikes 12, they have to go eat. And it don't matter if the world comes to an end, they have to eat at a certain time.
Well, that's a problem too, is people want to go at a regular lunch time, and you end up with nobody around to help to do anything because they're all sitting in the back.
Or a whole bunch of people want to go together. And it's like, this isn't like Walmart where there's, you know, 175 people working at any one time.
Yeah, so that, well, with us, there's only a few cashiers or people in the store even that can cashier. So we always, one of the first things I tell, you know, after we settle in or whatever, I'm like, okay, what time do you want to go to lunch? You get used to certain people, you know, what time they like to go. So I usually don't go till like 1 o'clock. That way, some people are, I got to go because I take medicines or, you know, whatever. I'm a diabetic or I have to go at these times. I don't care as long as I get to go.
I always try and go later because there are people, the store opens at 10 and they go for a half an hour lunch at noon, and then we're there till 6. And I'm like, I'd rather go at 1:30. Or, you know, I don't mind going that late because it kind of chops the day in half. But there's some people, man, it's like, you ain't even been here 2 hours and you're wanting to go, you know, and then you come back and you got 5.5 hours. It's like, that's too much.
Well, so, you know, in general, some people have limitations, so they're not able to sign up or do extra things or do the extra walking. Some people do certain jobs because they have arthritis or they're older, and so they can sit more, like watching the back door. So, you know, we're not saying everybody needs to take that extra step above and beyond, but the thing is to be open-minded, to see if there's other things that you can do to fit in or help out somebody or switch with somebody or, you know, whatever your circumstances can, but just to be helpful. because in the long run, it helps the store, and it helps the other people around you, and it helps you. And when the time comes that maybe you need that extra little help or whatever, people already know the kind of person you are, and they're more than willing to usually help you out if you need it.
Yeah, that's true. And I know there's been a couple of times that I've been at the service desk, and there's been a couple of the walkers who are a little bit older, and, you know, you see them kind of limping a little bit, and I'll say, you want to come and, you know, watch the desk for a little bit, and I'll walk, because I'm tired of sitting and they're tired of walking. So sometimes I've kind of tag teamed it with somebody where they watch the phones. You know, I'll go walk for an hour, I'll come back, then they'll walk for an hour. Yeah. So there's always a, you know...
Well, some can't, because there's a couple people that don't hear well enough to answer the phone.
Yeah.
They can't hear what they're saying. Yeah. And so, yeah, those couple aren't necessarily... I think they kind of figured it out on themselves, too. They don't even ask, but...
Yeah, well, you know, like you said, you know, there's ones that are older, and they can't go in there and walk for 8 hours, you know, all day. I mean,
or if some of the ones you would think are a little older, and they're walking, but they're like, I can't help lift furniture, I can't move this or that. Yeah. But then the morning meetings, they'll say, you know, people are always saying, I can't move this, I can't lift that, but I see you unload your car. I see you carrying your own
big
stuff.
buffet table you just lifted out of your car on your own. Yeah.
You know, you can help with a little bit of help. Yeah. We can join together and do this.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. It's like when it comes to loading your stuff, you're like an ant. You can carry 3 times your body weight. Yeah, so just, you know, I think a lot of it just comes down to either that's the kind of person you are, or that's not the person you are. Yeah. If you are a kind of person that, you know, helps out and chips in, and I mean, we've always been that way, and that's, you know, I don't know, it's just, that's the way I am. So if you're not naturally that way, or if you're not naturally a people person, it might be more of a challenge to say, look for opportunities to pitch in, because if you got blinders on and you're so used to just charting your own course and not paying attention, it's something that maybe it doesn't come naturally to
out
you.
of your realm, uncomfortable.
Yeah, or dealing with people, or you're naturally a little shyer, or that kind of thing, and it's, you know, so it may be a challenge to do that.
And that's okay, but, you know, in life changes. Our circumstances change, whatever, and we get into ruts real easy. But sometimes by taking that extra moment and rethinking it and stepping outside that bounds. Now, maybe it's you could choose in this situation when we're talking about, you may not want to choose to sit at the counter, or, you know, if you're uncomfortable dealing with people, but there's still opportunities to help out. Everybody has gifts. And, you know, you can figure out what those gifts are, and you can still help out in the background. You can still do things that are necessary to do that'll fit more into your comfort zone. So
yeah. Well, you know, anytime that you have any personal growth, it's usually because you stepped out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
So, you know, it's that kind of thing that I don't know, it tends to, you know, and don't be mad at me by saying that a lot of people, as they get older, tend to get really stuck in the way they do things. Yes. And it's like, you know, you should never stop learning, stop helping, stop reaching out to do more, or to learn new things. And I mean, there's some people, it's just like, no, that's the way I do it. That's the way I've always done it. That's the way I'm going to do it. So it's
I don't know. I knew someone that way with cell phones and a few other things in life.
Hey, my flip phone was good for the longest time.
I just don't know. I'm just not that comfortable with it. I'm just not.
You know what? I didn't get a really a smartphone until I picked up my eBay stuff. Because then I started doing all my pictures and the app and all that. So I did it when it was necessary. Yes, necessary. That's the story, and I'm sticking to it. So do you have anything else to add?
I guess not at this moment. I covered it pretty well.
So we hope that you enjoyed our podcast this week. Please give this video podcast a thumbs up. You can leave a comment down below, or you can email a question or a comment to me, Jen at pudgypicker.com. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and also Instagram under The Pudgy Picker. Subscribe if you haven't already. We always appreciate our subscribers. And we will see you next week with another riveting podcast. We'll decide later what it is. We don't know yet.
But everything we talk about is riveting.
Be awesome. Okay, we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.